Hey guys, in this training video, I'm going to take you through the listing presentation script. I actually have it in front of me because I can do this without looking at it, but my purpose here is to actually take you through step by step so you understand this process and exactly what to say. Now, this listing presentation is applicable and usable for every single listing appointment you go on, expired listing or anyone else, except for sale by owners. For sale by owner, appointments are different. It's a different conversation. It's about money, saving the commission, and showing your value in a different way. Obviously, you got to show your value, meaning what do you do for the money you charge to everyone that you present to? Otherwise, they won't want to list with you. But FISBOs are different. Anyway, everybody else, there are four parts to this listing presentation. Part one is you're going to introduce yourself and you're going to confirm their motivation to sell. And I say confirm because when you pre-qualify this appointment, you ask questions about their motivation. So here you're just going to say, oh, so you told me you're moving to Dallas and ideally you want to be there before the end of the year. Motivation is where, when, and why. Part number two is your marketing plan. You got to talk to the seller about, every seller wants to know, can you sell my house? And you need to explain to them in your marketing plan, what is it that you're going to do to sell the house? And this, you're gonna see when I go through the script with you, your marketing plan needs to be focused on what do you do differently from 99.9% of the agents, because you need to stand out. Otherwise, you're just one more real estate agent, a dime a dozen out there. You do everything that everybody else does. That doesn't make you stand out. Part three is the market analysis, the CMA. And when you go through the market analysis, remember, your goal is to help them understand the price. You don't just put a market analysis in front of them, show them the comps and tell them what they need to price it at. They need to understand how you came to the conclusion that you came to in regards to the price. What is it that you're looking at in the evidence that got you to understand the price? And part number four, ask them to sign the listing agreement. It's just asking for the signature. So part one, I said I'm going to take you through the script, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'll add little things here and there. Mr. Seller, if the seller's name is John. John, I'm really excited to work with you in the sale of your home. And before we start, I want to assure you that my goal is, and there are three parts to this, okay? My goal is to sell your home for the most money possible. You know, that's what they want. In the least amount of time and with the least amount of hassle. That is what you want, isn't it? Okay, it's a script. Now we're going to confirm their motivation, where, when, and why. So John, when we spoke over the phone, you said that you're moving to Dallas, and ideally, in an ideal world, you'd like to be there before the end of the year. So we're looking at about 3 months from now. Great. And I remember you also saying that you're moving to Dallas because you have family over there and you got a new job as well. So that would be just the perfect place for you to be, right? That's right. I want you to notice that when I say that's what you want, isn't it? That isn't it is a tie down, right? Is a tie down. And what I'm doing there's a lot of language patterns on this. I'm not going to be interrupting and going over that with you. But when you use tie downs, this is important for you to remember. You're engaging the listener continuously, because when you say that's what you want, isn't it? They say, yeah, that's what I want. And you're moving there because you're getting close to family and you have a new job, right? Right. Yes. So that engagement, meaning you're not just standing there and talking and lecturing them, because if you do that, people tune out. Their mind goes to la la land. They're not even listening anymore. Now, question: is there anything else, John, that's important to you about the move that I need to know about? Now, if there is, you get him talking. This presentation is not just you talking. This is part number one. That's it. Simple as that. Part number two, your marketing plan. John, are you familiar with the difference between a passive and an active agent? And the difference between the marketing strategies of a passive and active agent in regards to real estate? They may say no, or they may make something up. It doesn't matter. So now you go on. John, a passive agent is what 99.9% of agents do. They put a house in the multiple listing service. They put it on hundreds of websites, and they may do open houses. They may put a sign in your yard, professional photos, and basically at that point, once all of these marketing tools are in place, they just sit around and hope and pray that somehow the house will sell. The trouble with these methods, John, is that the agent basically sits around waiting for a buyer to call them. This passive approach is the main reason why the average agent sells a handful of homes a year, while I have a goal to sell 30 homes this year, whatever your goal is. Now, John, in addition to these passive marketing strategies that other agents use, of course, I do those things, obviously the ones that you do. I never did open houses, so you got to be careful. Whatever you list, if you don't do an open house, you got to explain why. That will be another video. So in addition to these passive marketing strategies that other agents use, I will also market your home actively and aggressively. Let me show you how I'm going to do that. So now, needless to say that when you're going through this script and when you're on a presentation, you need to speak confidently. You need to sound knowledgeable, because homeowners are not going to list their house with an agent that lacks confidence, that lacks knowledge. So, you got to embody this way of being before you show up. Another video too. So let me explain to you how I'm going to do that. The active and aggressive marketing. Number one, John, I will personally contact the top agents in our area to let them know that your home is for sale and invite them to bring their buyers. Now, here you want to explain to them that 5% of the agents sell 95% of the homes. And you're going to focus on making sure that 5% of the agents that are selling most homes know about their home. And wouldn't they know about the home if it's in the multiple listing service? No, not really, because in most MLSs, there are thousands of homes for sale. So their home is just one more. It can get lost in the shuffle very, very easily. So point number two, active and aggressive marketing. Online exposure. Now, Mr. Seller, most buyers start their search online and they go from there. They contact a local agent eventually, because 92% of buyers actually buy through an agent, even though at some point they're searching online. In the midst of hundreds of thousands of homes for sale around the country and thousands of homes for sale here in our local area, the most important thing that will attract buyers to your home is the price. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. The other critical aspect in creating online exposure, Mr. Seller, is making sure that we have beautiful professional photos and an excellent description of your property that will cause your home to stand out. I am an expert at that. And then number three, Mr. Seller, here's what separates me from other agents. Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. until noon, I am on the phone looking for buyers and sellers. I speak with 40 to 50 people a day. Every single day, I am looking for people who want to buy and sell real estate. You could expand on this. I'm not going to expand on it right now. I'm giving you the basic script. And when I say expand, is give the seller details on how you do that. Who are you talking to? What are you saying? I used to do that on my listing appointments. I would say, I'm going to call around your neighborhood, and here's how I'm going to get the contact information, the names and phone numbers. You know, the system I use, I tell them I use a system. And then I would say, I'm going to contact 300 or 400 of your neighbors, and this is what I'm going to say. I would actually say the script. I remember sellers looking at me like, you do that? I mean, like they don't hear that from any agent. And then I'm calling expireds for sale by owners. I explain to them how. I mean, these are other scripts. This is the basic stuff that I'm giving you here. I keep looking at the paper because I wanna give you the script as it's written, okay? Because I can certainly paraphrase and do this whole thing as I've done thousands of times, but I want you to get the actual script. Here's a great line. Mr. Seller, you and I both know that there is a buyer for your house out there, and my job is to go find them. That's what you would expect an agent to do for you, isn't it? Yes, I know the answer to that. That's it. That's your marketing plan, okay? What really separates you from everybody else is the prospecting that you do. Now, if you're really looking for high accountability, you can say to the seller something like this: Mr. Seller, I invite you to come into my office any Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and noon and see exactly how I do what I say to you I'm doing. Whew. Can you imagine they show up on Monday morning at 10 a.m. and you're not actually prospecting? Talk about being held accountable at the highest level possible. And you know, a lot of real estate agents say, yeah, I need a coach because I want accountability. Listen, you have to have internal accountability. Ultimately, a coach is not going to make you do something that you're not internally accountable to yourself for. This is probably one of the best ways for you to hold yourself accountable. And then part number three, the price and the market analysis. So, Mr. Seller, as a real estate expert, I study the real estate market every day. My goal is to share some information with you so you can clearly understand what's going on in our market today. Then together, we can agree on a price that will get your home sold by a certain amount of time so you can get to Dallas. That sounds great, doesn't it? Make sure that what you say in your body language, you don't want to say, that sounds great, doesn't it? That sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah, the video and audio match. Okay, great. So let's think like a buyer for a moment. Now, there are different ways of using this. I've used in the past, if you're buying a car, if you're buying a computer. My favorite comparison here, so they can understand how a buyer thinks, is to put them in the position of a home buyer. So if they're moving to Dallas, you can say something like this. Now, Mr. Seller, when you get to Dallas, you mentioned to me that you're going to be buying another home there, right? And you're going to say, yeah, that's right. So I want you to think about it this way, Mr. Seller. When you get to Dallas, and you choose, and well, you may not really know what area you're going to live in, so you're going to consult with a real estate agent. You may read online. Once you narrow it down and you know where you want to live in Dallas, will you only look at one house that is for sale in that area, or would you want to see several homes in that neighborhood so you can compare and see which one makes the most sense for you to buy? Naturally, they're going to say, well, yeah, no, I'm not just going to buy the first house that I see. I want to look at several homes. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100%, Mr. Seller. And that's probably what you did when you bought this home. The average home buyer looks at 15 to 20 homes before they decide to buy one. So I want you to consider this, Mr. Seller. Let's see, you know exactly what you're looking for in terms of number of bedrooms and baths. You see a beautiful home in your price range. They're asking 450,000, which is in your price range, and you love this home. Then you go around the block and you see another home for sale, very similar to the first home that you saw. Same square footage, number of bedrooms and baths, same year built. It has a brand new kitchen. You love all the features. They're very, very similar, except this second home, they're asking 399,000. So if in your opinion, both homes are equal, which one would you buy? Clearly, you would be buying the one for 399, right? And they're going to say, yeah, of course, absolutely. Mr. Seller, what would have to happen for you to make a decision to buy the home that's asking 450,000? Either they add some benefits to this transaction, they give you something that's worth money, in this case $50,000, or they lower the price of the home, right? And they're going to agree with that. So see, Mr. Seller, how buyers think, and you'd be thinking the same way, they're comparison shopping. And ultimately, and this is why the price is so important, because the buyer for your home, they're going to be looking at other similar homes that are for sale in your area. And they're going to do exactly what we were just talking about. They're going to compare. Now, this market analysis that I prepared for you, Mr. Seller, has two parts. Part one are the active listings, and active listings means like these are properties in your area that are currently for sale. So when we put your home on the market today, buyers are going to look at yours and these other homes here. I like to have no more than four. I always used 4 comps, okay? 4 actives and 4 recent sales. Less is not enough, and more, it can actually be confusing because it's way too much information. And you want to make sure that you select comparables, in this case, active listings and recent sales, that are as close to their property as possible. Because the last thing you want is them to say, well, but you know, they always think their house is better than all the others. But the last thing you want is for the comp really not to make sense. And if you're not able to find comparables that are very, very similar, you need to be able to explain to the seller the adjustments that you would make to the price based on additional things that home has that theirs don't have, or additional things they have that these comparables don't have. That's how appraisers think. They adjust for differences in the homes that they're using for the appraisal. You need to be able to have that conversation the same way. So 2 parts. Part 1 are the active listings, or the homes that are for sale, and part 2 are the recent sales. And we focus in the last 6 months because, again, that's what an appraisal will be looking at. There's an entirely other presentation that goes around that. And now you're going to take them through each comparable one by one. You're going to show them, you're going to look down and you're going to show them property number one. You're going to say, this is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's about 3,000 square feet. This is the year built. All the main things, it backs up to this or that. It has a pool, it doesn't have a pool. Whatever the things are, whether it has some remodeling features, a new kitchen, whatever it is, you got to take them slowly. You don't just like rush through a CMA, because this is the purpose of this, to help them understand what. When you walk into a listing appointment after doing the market analysis, you have an opinion of the price. Your opinion of the price is based on the market analysis, and it's also based on the market conditions, which there are a lot of things that affect market condition. I'm not going to get into that. But your job when you're discussing price is to help the seller understand how you came to the conclusion that you came to about the price. So you're looking at comparables and you're saying, well, if these houses are for sale and buyers are comparing, how do we price your home so you're the next one that's going to sell? And so you got to take them through it slowly, and you should ask them, are you familiar with this home? Have you ever been inside the home? Why is that a great question to ask? Because you're going to be talking about these properties, and if they've been inside the home, chances are they know the house before better than you do. And if that's the case, you want to know before you open your mouth and start talking. Okay, so it's always a great question to ask. You're going to take them through each comparable one by one. Take your time, ask questions, make sure they understand the adjustments, the differences, and then you're going to go through the recent sales within the last 6 months. And when you're done going through these comparables, you're going to ask them a very important question. And here's the question. So, Mr. Seller, when you look at these recent sales and all of these these active listings here in your area that your property is basically going to be competing with, what do you think we need to price your home at so it is the next property to sell in your area? That's the question. And I know this is not an easy thing to do, what I'm going to say to you right now, but when we ask a question, you need to shut up and let them answer. Okay? You don't ask a question and then start talking and give them the answer. You just pause and let them speak. Now, they may give you an answer. And I'm not going to go through this right now because that would be a pricing conversation and handling pricing objections. But they may say a price that makes no sense. They may say a price that's too high. So now you gotta, actually what you would do, I'm not going to give you pricing information here now, but if they say, well, I don't know, you tell me, or they give you a price that's too high, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go back to the comparables, back to the active listings, back to the recent sales. If they have not been able to figure it out, and you got to share some information about the market conditions too. I'm not going to talk about that now. But if they have not been able to figure it out, you got to go through it again until they actually come up with a price. And if again it's still too high, you got to help them understand why pricing it too high is not in their best interest, is going to help the competition sell. There are a lot of different scripts that you can use for that. And then part number 4, the easiest one. When you've done a great presentation, getting the signature, closing for the signature, should be easy and automatic. You know what you should do, what you need to do, okay, from now on. When you get to a listing appointment, the first thing you do is you take your listing agreement, which is completely filled out with the exception of the price. So their name, their address, the commission, the expiration date, everything that needs to be filled out, stood out, price is blank. And you put it on the table where you're like in front of them, okay? Like if I'm doing my presentation right here, I put the listing agreement here. I take a pen and I set right on top of the listing agreement and I just leave it there. It's a subliminal close. They know what it is. You don't need to, well, here's the listing agreement. No, just leave it there the whole time. And when it gets time to ask for the signature, obviously for you to ask for the signature, you agree on a price, right? You handled all the pricing conversation. You and the seller agree on a price. The listing agreement is right here. You grab your pen and you say, great, Mr. Seller. So we're going to price it at $375, and you're writing as you say. And then you put a little X on the signature line. You hand them the pen. You turn this agreement over. It's on the table. And you just say, I just need your signature right here. And you hand them the pen. That's it. And then you shut up. And you just keep nodding yes and handing them the pen until they pick it up and sign. And one of two things will happen. They will either pick it up and sign, or they'll give you an objection. And if they give you an objection, you're going to handle that objection. You're going to ask them to sign again the same way. One of two things will happen. They'll grab the pen and sign, or they'll give you another objection. And that's it. That's the process. And you're going to keep going through that until they sign or they throw you out of the house. Remember, 80% of the time, people say yes and sign and agree after asking 5 times. Now, that's absolutely true when you're prospecting, when you're in order to set an appointment. But I believe that when you make a great listing presentation, it doesn't take 5 closes. They shouldn't have. When you pre-qualify well, you know what their objections are, you show up and you make a great presentation. They may have a question, they may have an objection, but it's not likely to take you 5 times asking for them to sign, okay? If they're really giving a lot of objections, something in this process, and this process starts over the phone with the first phone call, there were gaps. They're not convinced that you are the right agent, unfortunately, because by the time you get to ask for the signature, that should be a given. It should be easy for you to get these listing agreements signed.